looks like, illusion, seen as, and apparency. Much has been written around this subject, shrouded in vague utterings and wise mutterings and cloaked in volumes of profound mystery. Well, sorry to take the fun and mystery out of it, but we're about to straighten this lot up a bit. Since ancient times, it's been oft repeated that life's an illusion, reality is only an apparency, things are not what they seem, we lead lives of self-deception, and so on ad nauseum. You've doubtless come across this now and then. Well, sorry to say it's all sort of true, but to understand what it really means involves a journey of awareness. There are aspects that take time to comprehend in a sequential manner, so let's begin to establish a firm footing rather than pretend to understand the whole cake at one swallow, so to speak. Let's begin with an assumption. Consider that there is a physical universe, which is whatever it is, loaded with planets, gravities, radiations, erosions, evolvements, rocks, trees, and fluffy little pussycats. Let us identify this lot with the word actuality. Now, consider that you, I, maybe the butcher down the road, are part of this and viewing it all from our own personal viewpoint or position. One doesn't need to be a Rhodes Scholar to work out that each one of us views this universe in a uniquely separate way. No one of us knowing what or how the other perceives of the things in front of them. We have points of common agreement, sure, but there the coincidence ends, and we all make the assumption that everyone else sees things exactly the way we do. Big mistake. We may all agree that we are looking at a motor car, no problems. But how each of us sees that car will be uniquely different person to person. I may see it as red, but I don't know what red looks like to you. You may see red that to me corresponds as yellow. We only know we have a common agreement to call that spectrum wavelength red, and so it becomes identified by that word, regardless of how each of us perceives it. I may see the car as a desirable thing, representing success, wealth, machismo, and sexual male aggression. You may perceive it as a piece of show-offy, piece of overpriced egotism. The butcher may perceive it as a useless frippery, totally incapable of delivering his beef, mutton, donkey, and kangaroo carcasses. This is the area of individual reality. It has parts of similarity for each of us, but is substantially different to what exists in the actuality. The ramifications of this are enormous. When someone demands we face reality, we need to ask whose reality they're referring to. And we can be excused for questioning how firm is their grasp on actuality. Could this mean that with 6 billion people on the planet, we could be dealing with 6 billion different realities? Yeah, the show does rest us. Mind you, there is the modifying factor of common agreement, varying in extent from person to person, creating sufficient illusory agreement on what is and what ain't to keep the game ticking over for everyone, holes and all. So there's actuality, and there are people's versions of it. The viewing of actuality is colour filtered by the spectacles we wear. So the fluffy duck looks like a lovable little treasure to one person, a troublesome bloody poop factory to another, and dinner to someone else. The actuality of the duck is now interpreted, translated, whatever, into various perceptions of reality. Seldom is the duck simply seen for what it is, devoid of significances or translations. These various interpretations are what we refer to as looks-likes. They are not the actuality. They can also be referred to as seen as, apparencies, or illusions, all being different terminologies for aspects of the same thing. When we view apparency, looks like, and then buy in on it as real, we now come from an illusion and not the actuality. This perception now becomes our reality on the matter, and hence the terribly profound Buddhist statement that all reality is illusion. Well, they're actually right, But unfortunately, they never got round to clarifying what they're talking about. So the poor student disappears into a mystery of great significance and thinks he's actually getting somewhere, poor sod. Now he's really trapped into an illusion. I think it's hilarious. It's also fascinating to see how the statements meant to free someone out are the very ones that deepen his entrapment. Life examples litter the ground. Who has seen the profitable, stable business suddenly turn to custard without warning? The reality didn't stand up to the actuality. Or the life partner, soulmate, without warning displays a hitherto hidden aspect of personality and turns into an inconstant sleep-around. She was always like that, shop-fronted and therefore undetected through our inability to detect the actuality behind the illusion. Oh, how she's changed, we plaintively cry, not realising that she or he hasn't at all, only displayed a different aspect we were unaware of in our illusory reality frame. By taking the time to inspect many examples, we become increasingly aware of apparency and illusion, less prone to becoming the effect of these movements. And there are very practical applications as well. Simply knowing, recognising, that you've just been whumped or taken out by a looks-like can sometimes be enough to blow apart the energy field, which is only comprised of confusions and unknowns anyway. It is desirable for a person to gain enough relevant knowledge and therefore awareness to be able to handle the bulk of his troubles before they escalate into needing assistance. When someone is in deep trouble, afflicted by emotional distresses, the awareness is funneled or condensed down to only being aware of the trauma that one is immediately experiencing and very little else. The ability to view actuality is completely buried in stuff, and from here help is needed to refocus the attention. To the person, the details of their troubles, that is their attention focus, is entirely confined to those matters distressing them. And from there, no relief can be delivered as we're dealing entirely with looks-likes and apparencies. They are suffering from bad personal reality, and their distress is the realest thing, and in fact the only thing, that they're currently aware of. Trying to handle items of their reality head-on is a most uncertain and usually futile way of bringing relief, as their reality is only a consequence of other unseen factors. The reason the psychoanalyst's couch needs to be occupied for hundreds of hours spread over months or years is not due to the depth of the client's distresses, but by trying to handle all the looks-likes, illusions and apparencies, instead of the basic causes of these problems. Admittedly, some people have dug themselves into a hole so deep over the years that they're not going to be rescued in 10 minutes. And one of the items of actuality is that they have actually created the very situation they now inhabit, albeit unwittingly, which needs addressing to prevent repetition of the trauma. A process of education and end-sessioning is required, each to the needs and desires of the individual. But this procedure need not occupy years of expensive and futile self-flagellation. Many people are concerned only with handling the most immediate traumas and go off back into life content with that. Others sense the bigger life change potential and, not satisfied with band-aid patching up, seek larger horizons in terms of self-expansion. Neither situation is righter than the other. Both are simply expressions of the reality of the given individual. As study in life experience progresses, ramifications of this subject become increasingly apparent. As much of the accent of StrataQuest is aimed at getting in behind the apparencies and exposing the actualities that lie therein. Each and every one of us has created the positions we occupy within this physical universe apparency and continue moment by moment to reinforce those various creations. If that situation suits, well and good, no trouble. But there may be those amongst us who aspire to something a little more progressive. And it is primarily for such folk who wish to walk a road in this brief time granted to us The map of StrataQuest has been surveyed, presented, and continues to be developed for fellow travellers to do with what they will. Go well. Enjoy.